That dimension collapse was freaky as fuck. That was so fucking freaky. Like, did you see the way the art was? Like, the bodies multiplied, split, and when the poor dude, he got grabbed by his robots and their fucking face just split him, like, split his damn face in half. Yo, that was like something out of a horror movie. Like, that was pretty damn creepy. Like, oh my fucking god, that was creepy. Oh my god, like, I didn't expect to see a scene like that in Dimension W, of all things. Like, something like that, like, what? Like, that's something you would see from, like, a serial killer. Like, something like, you know, someone that wants to make modern art or something. Like, they want to make art with bodies. I mean, that's kind of what it reminded me of. Something like Psycho-Pass, in a way, actually. Slightly some stuff similar to Psycho-Pass. That's exactly what that reminded me of. And I'm like, what the fuck? So, when you saw these bodies, or, you know, these 3 bodies, like, multiply, and they were just all over the place, very creepy shit that needs to be explained. I can't wait to find out more about this, because it definitely adds a lot more interest to this series that I didn't have. Now, see, I'm already interested in Dimension W. It's one of the best series of this anime season, hands down. No kidding on that part. But when it came to that scene alone, if I wasn't already interested, that would have gotten me interested enough just because of how different that was from everything else that is airing this anime season. Like, it's very different. Now, there is a lot of variety, actually, when it comes to this season, but that right there is like, what the fuck? So, what is this episode about? Like, episode 2 of Dimension W. Well, for one, episode 2, I gotta say, I like the introductions done in this, especially with the thief loser, which he is anything but a loser. Now, many, when they first saw his character introduced, he just seemed to be like his name was said, a loser. His entire, I mean, it was badass looking and stuff, but I mean, it didn't look like he was anyone that was going to be a really good thief. But then, once we get to see him in action, what he was doing, his name really does not suit. It really doesn't. He really needs to change his fucking name to, like, someone that's called, like, a badass or something. I mean, seriously. I have to say, when it comes to Dimension W, there's a lot of badass characters, actually. Main male characters in this series. I mean, like I already said, Kyoma, our main male character, he's probably the contender for the best main male character of this anime season, just because of how damn badass he is. Like, he's so fucking badass. Like, you saw what the fuck he was doing in this episode? I know I'm getting a little bit off topic from, you know, talking about loser, but I gotta talk about Kyoma for a second. Kyoma, he straight up, man, he pulled out like a 3-dimensional maneuver gear and started flying and shit, like from Attack on Titan. He was going over this shit over the floor, and he was chasing after loser and all that. He was a badass, man. He was just knocking bitches out and stuff. I mean, how he killed those 2 robots, he just slung the fucking daggers in the robots and they dropped like nothing. That shit was awesome. It was really freaking awesome. I mean, we already knew he was awesome because of the opening song and then also last week's episode, but seeing this in this episode of what he was doing, just, you know, going around fucking wrecking shit, oh my god. And that's just, you know, one part of this episode that was really cool. Then you have this character, Loser, that was introduced, and his characterization I'm very fascinated about. I want to know more about what really happened to him, like, the entirety of his past, because, I mean, he has, you know, a child, and for the most part, it seems like he wants just plain old revenge, but he's collecting these things called numbers, which is the main question we all have right now. What is numbers, and what role is this going to have to play in the grand scheme of things of the series? Because let's be honest here, the introduction of these numbers most likely is going to be one of the main plot threads of this series. It has something very vital to the overall plot. So whatever these numbers are is probably going to be something that's going to be reoccurring very soon. It's something we really need to pay attention to, which makes me wonder, you have it to where Loser's been going into a bunch of different areas to try to steal shit, and supposedly he's never succeeded. Like, he's never actually stolen anything. Like, he's never gotten away in shit and gotten, you know, something out of, let's say, a museum or something. So it makes you wonder, like, does that mean that he was going into these different areas? Let's say, you know, there was a prized jewel, okay? Let's just say a prized jewel inside of a museum, and he went there, broke in, and he was checking to see if that, let's say, prized possession had one of those numbers inside of it. And if it didn't, he just, you know, left it there and didn't do shit. Maybe the reason why he's such a failure of a thief, and why many think he's a failure of a thief, is because he was going from one place after another, trying to find these numbers, and since technically they didn't have them, he just left them there, because he wasn't really interested in, you know, the actual material possession. He was just interested in whatever these numbers are. So that might explain, which means that he probably hasn't found many numbers if, you know, he just now found this one. because supposedly he's never actually won in terms of a robbery. So it makes you wonder. Really makes you wonder if he actually got out with these numbers without being noticed before, or if this is the first time he's actually found one. And what type of roles are these numbers going to exactly have? So besides that, moving on though, we also have it to where Mira, she's getting her own different little, viewpoint throughout this entire episode. She was actually having to hold her own in the spotlight because Kilma just pretty much ignored her throughout this entire episode, which adds a little bit different variety to this character, because usually when you have a main female character, they're usually displayed to be a little bit weak. I mean, that's usually kind of how they are, and I'm not saying every series is like that, but there is a lot of series that tend to show female characters that's kind of in the position of Mira to be a little bit weak. And to see how Mira was actually holding her own, doing her own thing, without, having her hand held by Kilma, and she was finding, these different secrets, like these doves and shit, or pigeons, yeah, they were fucking pigeons. She's finding pigeons to go track down this boy. It's a really cool thing to see from her character, to see how she's able to hold her own without the help of others. So she's a very strong, and I guess a character that can actually hold her own against anything without having to have help from others. So that's about it. I mean, when it comes to this episode of Dimension W. Very entertaining, very enjoyable, and another wonderful episode that's probably even better than the damn first episode. Yeah, I think it was. It was probably definitely better. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. What do you all feel about that illegal coil to what happened with the Dimension? Your thoughts on that entire, regard. What do you think these numbers are? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.